Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining the first of our webinar series for the European Customer Centricity Awards. This is a fantastic topic with two fantastic speakers today. So the topic is how to overcome inertia regarding the CX program within an organization. So as I mentioned, this is the first of the series for the European Customer Centricity Awards webinars. Few information bits about the awards themselves on the left-hand side. And we are also running masterclasses in Budapest, Berlin, and Bratislava over the coming months as well. This presentation will be shared at the end with all of the people attending. And also, please use this as an opportunity to ask questions of Stefan and Bernhard at the end. We will cover those, so please put them in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. So allow me to introduce Stefan Osthaus, who's the founder and managing director of Experience 5, and Bernhard Rathmayr, senior manager for e-service and innovation of T-Mobile Magenta Telecom. So if you'll allow me to start with you, Stefan, what role do you think internal communication plays in delivering a customer centricity program?
Yes, thank you, Mark. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Before I answer, let me invite everyone, if they have questions throughout the session, to feel free to ask them in German if they feel more comfortable doing that, and we will then translate that into English for them, if that's okay. So apologies for having all of this in English due to the international registration we have for today. So bear with us. I hope this works for everyone. Thanks for the question. What role does internal communication play in delivering a customer centricity program? Most of you will be in the midst of that. You will have seen how a program starts, either with a lot of mojo from the executive team encouraging that this program advances quickly, or the other alternative is with a lot of hard work from a dedicated individual, the head of customer support, the head of marketing, or another individual within the company who is fighting an uphill battle against the inertia in an organization. In both cases, you need a lot of communication to convince the organization around you that this is just not another trend, another thing that will go away quickly, but that this is a transformation that you intend to last until your company becomes completely customer-centric, which is a journey, not a project. So customer centricity programs need a lot of convincing, and if you do this too diligently and too harshly and drawing too grim of a picture of what will happen if you don't run this customer centricity program, then the company will lose its interest. It will not be fun to participate. So my key advice at this point would be, make sure you don't only draw the grim picture of how horrible everything is and how urgent the improvements are, but also share successes wherever you find them. Let the heroes in the company be identified, let them shine for what they've done right, in order to make your communication program, just as much as your program itself, fun and interesting to follow.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And Bernhard, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, hi everyone, also from my side. I think what Stefan said is really important. It's a transformation. It's not like a project with a definite end date, but it's a transformation. Because to put the customer really in the focus of your company, as the targets of your company, that's something new for most companies, even if you're talking about these programs for a couple of years now, but still for most companies it's new, because in the past most of us were forced to think about financial KPIs or technical boundaries or any process limitations first. And to perform this transformation with a really customer-centric approach means a cultural change, and cultural change means obviously always a lot of communication is needed. You have to describe what is planned and what's the purpose. Why are we doing that? Because it's putting the customer in really in the focus of all what you're doing in your company or on your also regarding your main targets. There's a lot of value, financial one, cultural one, employee experience will also have positive effects, but you have to describe that and you have to involve the people and talk to them, because only then you can convince them and delight them also within your organization to be part of that transformation process.
Brilliant.
What
Thank
do
you
you
very
see,
much.
Bernhard? Let me jump in with a follow-up, if I may, on this one. What do you see, Bernhard, when I compare my clients' challenges today in their customer experience programs? I would say that about half of the challenges come from the CX team not communicating effectively. They either don't let top management know what the targeted benefits are and how close the program is coming to actually achieving those benefits, and they miss the opportunity to tell the success stories, so gradually everyone in the organization loses interest. Is that something you see in your world as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as I mentioned, I think it's a kind of a no-brainer that you have to think about your customer and that you have to design your processes and your products so that they fit for your customers. But if you're honest, how often do we fail in doing that? It's most of the times we get to limitations, we get to boundaries where we say, okay, it would be great if we could do it that way, but technical limitation there, or yeah, the process doesn't allow that, or there's a regulation saying no, you must not do that. It's very often in implementing a customer-centric culture. We stop before we get to the goal, and it's important to describe to all stakeholders, from the top management to the marketing guys, financial guys, the front line in the shops or in the contact center. Why is it important also to take these last 2 or 3 steps to the goal? Why is it important, and what's the purpose behind that? Because only then, if we can line out that we can delight our customers and that there is not only a impact on customer satisfaction, but also on financial KPIs at the end of the day, then we can bring all the people throughout the organization on board of that processes.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And to stick with you, Bernhard, so I suppose this is a negative way to look at it, but where does it usually start to go wrong in these programs?
Yeah, include the whole team. That's what we forget very often, which brings us back a bit to the communication question at the beginning. Besides including the whole team, talking to the whole team, and asking also for their feedback, I think it's was also a threat is that you think too much of certain KPIs, that you say customer centricity or customer experience is only referring to NPS. So now we think about NPS and how could we increase it, and then we analyze only one KPI. And but that's not the whole story, you know. That's a metric, and that's an indicator of in which direction are we going. But you have to think holistic, and that begins with including also, after my opinion, most important people are in that team that should be built are the frontliners. So your representatives, your agents in the contact center, in the shops, to get feedback from them and to get insights, because those are the people that are working with the customer and that are facing the customer day to day. So it's important to have them on board and really take their feedback also into consideration.
And Stefan, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I see a particularly prominent pitfall in the whole area around proving the return on investment for a customer centricity program, because in reality most of these programs depend on executive support from one identifiable individual. And that individual will say, no matter what the numbers say, my gut feeling tells me we need to become more customer centric. And that's usually enough to launch an initiative, but that's not enough to keep it going. So while in the beginning, the return on investment discussion is very much around external research. And yes, we know that 1 point of NPS increase will increase sales, stock price by so much, shopping basket by so much, decrease the stock price. And we have a lot of external research to prove that. The heads of customer experience in an organization very often miss that point about 1 year into the program or 1.5 years into the program to start proving the ROI with internal data and not just with external research. And here is where I've seen all of a sudden the CX budgets being sliced, the team sizes being reduced, the internal support fading and melting away, and the whole program coming to a crumble. Whereas in those cases where we went in and helped clients to actually take the data they have from existing customer surveys, map it against their account information that they have, seek out correlations and causalities, and hence prove the impact customer experience improvements have on operational data in an organization. In these cases, we were able to make sure customer experience programs launch on a continued trajectory and thrive within an organization because everyone understands the impact on of the business. So you usually start on a shoestring of motivation and belief, and if you don't turn this into a strong support based on numbers and proof, then you will find it very difficult to keep your momentum going.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And staying with you, do you have any examples of companies where they were able to turn it around? So they've got to this bad situation, there's inertia, and how did they do that? If
Mark, I don't hear you at the moment, but let me take this one here.
Yeah.
So it's actually a good follow-up question to what I just said. I said half of the problems we see are from the customer experience team not proving the return on investment. The other half of the problem most typically is when the customer experience team falls into a jargon of customer experience. And we're all pretty guilty of that, speaking about the voice of the customer, the VOC, the touch points, the customer journey mapping, the CSAT scores, and stuff that makes a lot of sense to us in the community, but we fail to speak the language of everyone in the organization. One great example on how we overcame this is where we take folks into discussion and say, and you might test this on yourself here on the phone, everyone outside the customer experience team, how do we translate our story into your language? And we usually keep asking, what is the best customer experience you ever had with a brand? And folks will speak about Amazon and how easy it has been to send something back. They speak about Apple and how wonderful their iPhone is and all the wonderful things it can do for them. And they speak about maybe an airline where they were in distress and they have then been dealt with very nicely with a very friendly person. And we can then make it visible for folks that each customer experience is either or in the area of effect, effort, and emotion. Let me translate this for an airline. If you want to fly from here to London, the effect is that you actually arrive. And the effort is that you have all kinds of soothing experiences that make it easier for you. You have fast tracks through security. You can use the lounge. You can do different things to make it easier. And then even somebody as rational as Deutsche Lufthansa will every know and then go out of their way and paint their planes in certain emotional motives around a football world championship, European championship, or something like that. So everyone can relate to that. But then the next step is important. You speak to your heads of business units or heads of functions within an organization and say, what is it you're up against? What is your biggest problem today? And then the sales guy will say, head of sales will say, we don't get the new product when we need it. The head of operations will tell you, we're in the middle of a ERP consolidation upgrade to the next version of Salesforce, combining our Oracle incidents or whatever it is. And somebody else would say, you know, my team is already working 120% a day. Don't come along with something new. So you can clearly say that their challenge is, while the customers want the 3 E's, effect, effort, and emotion, the teams internally are up against product, process, and people, and all the challenges around this. And here's where the magic happens. If you actually take these challenges and don't see them as roadblocks anymore, but you see them as the 3 dimensions that complement what customers want from you on a chessboard, that is much easier than a 64-field chessboard. It's a 9-field chessboard. Then you can start talking in your colleagues' language with them and say, all right, let's look at what these areas are. There's product specialization happening here. For example, the best product with the best effect is the Victorinox pocket knife. There's never going to be a better one than that. The easiest food is Campbell tomato soup. It won't get easier than opening the can, warming it up, and eating it. And then you can see other examples. A product with pure emotion is a Walt Disney comic book. A company that has totally sorted out easy processes is UPS. Stuff that is very easy in the middle of that in terms of processes, stuff you can quite easily deal with companies across the board here are, for example, products where you can quite easily log in, for example, in airline, quite easily get your boarding pass. A product that is pure fun in terms of process is renting one of those electrical scooters. And then another one, oops. Can you guys still hear me? Can you please confirm that really quickly?
Yeah, we can hear you, yeah. We can hear everything. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then you can see a product that delivers pure fun is renting an electric scooter. A person who can do something that you can't do is a plumber. A person who can do something you could but you don't want to do is a cleaning help. And then a people event that adds emotion to a sales process, no matter whether it makes sense or not, is a tupper party. So why am I telling you that? I'm saying that overcoming the inertia within an organization quite easily can be helpful if you use this inside-out, outside-in view of a company. If you take a company like your own company and say, all right, if the current combination of the ERP systems you have, if the current combination of the new Salesforce.com is holding us in the process area, which field can we play in on the people side or on the product side? Where can we compensate things? Very often you'll find that something cannot be fixed today, and let's add at least an emotional dimension about it and effectively apologize, because that might already compensate. This is a picture of Lufthansa, how they would play the whole field of the 9-field matrix, moving you from A to B, giving you a comfortable business class seat, painting your plane in the colors of your club, making your seat reservation available before you board, giving you an easy boarding pass, easing your flight shame and allowing you to buy CO2 compensation, having the people on board not only to fulfill a function with a security briefing, but also giving you the landing card, making that easier for you and being very nice throughout the service. So this is my example I'd like to bring up, where you can turn around inertia in an organization. You can turn around where the support of the other functions fade away. Ask yourself, have I been speaking too much jargon, and have I not delivered the proper insight into the challenges they are up against? And if any of this is happening, take the inside out, outside in model and play on this 9-field matrix with your colleagues and bring them back on board.
Thank you very much, Stefan. That was very extensive, and that's an excellent example as well. Thank you for that. And Bernhard, I suppose, is there anything you've experienced in your time, either with companies you've worked for or other examples where they've turned it around as well?
Yeah, coming to my industry, the telecommunication industry. Our brothers and sisters in the US, T-Mobile US, they are, for me personally, they're a really great example, because we all struggle with technical problems or legacy systems, and with limitations coming from that. And we I experience it a lot of time that we tend to push all that complexity and all the troubles we have with our system world to the customers. So we offer them input forms on our website, which are highly complex, or we force them to send us a document 3 times because our systems need them in a certain way. Or we cannot offer them the product that they want, not because we don't want to deliver the product, but our legacy systems do not support that. And what our colleagues in the US did is that they said, we have to overcome those limitations coming from our organization internally, from our systems, from our legacy. And if there is complexity, or if there are any limitations, then we have to deal with them internally. Then it's our task as an organization to find internal workarounds. And there are quite intense workarounds, to be honest, but never put those troubles in front of the customers. Never put those really complex processes in front of the customers. Offer them the best experience when they contact us, when they buy our products, when they use our products, when they complain about our products, but never put the complexity in front of the customer. And that's like their dogma. And I think it's something we also try to implement in Austria, and also with partner companies who are working together. Just always ask yourself, is it really necessary to have that complexity out there? Or could we deal with the complex process internally and offer to the customer out there only the best experience? And that's if we do that check on our everyday's work, it often helps. And it's a lot of projects where we used that simple question to fix problems for the customer. We have complex processes internally then, yes, because we have to work with that workarounds. But it helps very often to offer a really great experience out there.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bernhard. And staying with you, so how do CX leaders in organizations keep momentum and reselling the importance of customer centricity programs? I know we've already mentioned ROI, but it isn't just about ROI, right?
Of course not. It's there are the financial impact, yes, but it's also a lot of brand impact. If you can deliver a perfect journey to your customer, then that's something that really also comes back to your brand, and people will remember that, and they will stay loyal, and they will also help you in get a better reputation out there. And another effect is employee experience and the satisfaction with your employees, with your team, within your team, because it's of course still or again a no-brainer, but that's something we often forget. If you have your team motivated, if your team loves to perform the processes customer facing, loves to sell the products, and if they are convinced about the products, then the motivation is really high compared to situations where they have to work with processes the customers hate and where they get the respective feedback then. So it's also really important for the employee experience and the employee motivation to have that culture implemented. And if your people, if your team experiences that the customer is in focus and that you really perform a customer-centric approach throughout all touch points, they will love also working with the processes, with the products, sell them, and they will also love to perform the contacts with the customers.
Brilliant. And Stefan, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just, as you were telling your story, Bernhard, I had to think of two best practices I've seen with clients recently where they really did a good job in maintaining momentum. It all comes back to what we call data inside action. This is the triage you run in any customer experience program. You collect data, either through the voice of the customer or the voice of the employee or the voice of the process, which is the KPIs you have in place already. And this data you then look at, and you might find customers tell us that this part of the experience is really bad. And then you want to turn this insight into action. And again, giving you a little bit of a percentage insight here, I see that most of our clients get the data stuff right. They get to implement good VOC, VOE, and VOP processes. Only few struggle on the insight step. They might not have dedicated analyst resources, but then they can outsource that or they borrow them from other departments. So again, most of them get the step from data to insight right, where actually almost 80% of the organizations fail initially is turning insight into action. And here is where I've seen two very nice best practices. The first one is making the pain visible and feelable to everyone in the room. So the poster version of that always have a picture of the customer in the room. I don't believe in that. Bring instead the pain. We had one operational challenge where the company separated the shipment of the product and the shipment of marketing materials to B2B customers. In this case, it was doctor offices. So the doctor would order the medication and would get the medication in one box, and the marketing material had been outsourced to another warehouse and another service provider, and they would ship the marketing material in a separate box. And for cost reason, they seemed to be only using one size boxes, so you could get 20 flyers in a 2 feet by 2 feet carton with a lot of shipping and filling material in it, leaving you with a lot of packaging material and a bad ecological image of the company. When we spoke about that, we literally had one of these boxes shipped back from a doctor's office and put it on the table as we were discussing with the operational team, and within half an hour, a solution was found, just because you were able to make the pain tangible to everyone in the room. Another example is where the customer, a global tech company, asked us to assess their customer-facing contact centers around the globe. And while they were under the impression that they were doing a really good job, and this might deliver them a high score and maybe some incremental areas of improvement, we were in the executive report out with the VPs in the room able to tell them about experiences we had while work shadowing the agents. We spoke about how they thought warm transferring a customer to another department was a good idea, but they forgot to create a fast-track phone number, so the agent warm transferring the customer ended up in the IVR, had to press 3, then 4, then 7, and then had to wait for 10 minutes until somebody picked up. But he was ordered to warm transfer, so he was staying with the customer on the phone, speaking about the weather, saying, hey, only a few more minutes, and I'm sure somebody will pick up soon. And we brought this to the table and described it to everyone, and everyone in the room was cringing and saying, oh my God, this is horrible. And we were able to revisit the whole warm transfer rule with them. So I think coming back to the question here, how do you keep momentum and reselling the importance of the customer centricity program is bring the bad examples in an easy to empathize way into the room, not in an accusing way, not saying you guys are idiots, you did this or that, but in a way where you ask the question, is this really the experience we want to deliver? A second aspect, other than making the pain tangible for everyone in the room is being diligent on the governance. When you identify something that needs to be done, in our example, to change the way how we ship marketing material in the B2B environment, or to change the way how we warm transfer customers, it is quite easy for the accountable people in the organization to hide behind a tree and say, interesting, but we have different priorities at the moment. The worst thing the customer experience team can do in this moment is try to do it themselves. And that usually is the end of a customer experience program. If the team puts all the monkeys on their own shoulder and tries to perform the tasks that the functions and regions should perform themselves, nobody will be motivated to take on accountability in the subsequent months, because they'll say, oh, customer experience team will look into this anyways. So this is a moment of truth where the customer experience team must go back to their internal stakeholders and renew their governance agreement, renew how decisions are being made, who's accountable for executing decisions that have been made in the organization. That should be the BU, the region, the function, but not the customer experience team, and should renew their executive support as well as the measurement and the way the executive team is holding leaders accountable within the organization. If you shortcut that, if you are shy of going back to your leaders and asking for governance support, then you will miss an important prerequisite that you need in order to keep the momentum for your program. So in summary, make your customer pain points tangible and renew your governance agreement with your executive sponsors wherever it's needed to not let the governance slack and fade away.
Thank you very much. And I suppose just a question for me, with listening to both of you there, the final question in particular. So how important do you think recognition is in keeping momentum up? So when I say recognition, I mean internal recognition for the employees so they maintain the levels of motivation required to keep the programs going. Are there any examples that you've seen where top management and CX teams have done a good job in communicating that across large organizations or even in smaller teams?
So what we are doing is sending out positive feedback from our customers. If there were any problems with the customer, or if you had some issues with the product or the billing or whatever, and a customer service representative took care about that and could solve the issue and received positive feedback, then what we do is send out the whole story, like a summary of what happened and what was the resolution, and then also show the positive feedback from the customer, just to make it for everyone can then see what was the issue and feel also the pain, as Stefan laid out before, and can also see that if you take care about your customer, and if you're looking for a solution for the issue of your customer, then you will receive emotions, positive emotions. And beside all the KPI stuff, and of course we need that, and it's important for us to keep track and to measure what's going on out there. But beside that, the emotions and really personal feedback is also very important for the people, especially for the customer service representatives, where they have to deal with a lot of negative feedback and with a lot of negative emotions throughout the day. So for them, then it's also very important to get the positive feedback and show what a customer centric approach, even in their day-to-day work, what the effects can be, and that can definitely make a difference.
Excellent. Stefan, is there any examples?
Yeah, thanks. Great points there, Bernhard. On the recognition area, as you mentioned, I think we can see two levels where you should pay attention. At a higher, almost cultural level, you want to create a culture of heroes. You want to recognize great behavior where it happens, and you don't need expensive monetary rewards. But whatever award or nice recognition you can hand out to encourage behavior that you want to see repeated, you should do. And you should do this throughout the organization, not just at the annual employee conference, but you should have a well thought through program in place that makes good behavior visible to everyone in the organization and creates that culture of hero. But underneath the surface, there's also something you should do, and that's being courteous to your employees and their suggestions that they provide for feedback. Again, for one of our clients, we've just kicked the tires on the employee feedback program. And while they thought they had, from a technology point of view, created wonderful channels to provide feedback, the consistent feedback from employees was, we don't actually know where to go if we have any suggestions, but even worse, if we submit suggestions, we never hear back from them. So I think it's also a form of recognition for an employee who went the extra length of submitting an improvement suggestion to then, first of all, recognize and confirm you have received that, but also have a program in place to then come back a few weeks later and tell that employee what you did with it. And that, again, is a governance you need to instill in the organization to keep your employee suggestion program going and live and active. Otherwise, it will die a very slow and pitiful death and only be the technology without any content flowing through it.
Excellent. Yeah, two-way communication, I guess, for any of the employee suggestion schemes is crucial. And are there any things you would like to add, gentlemen, before we finish here? In the absence of any additional questions, is there any points or anything you'd like to add? Well, someone is typing now.
I have a quick point to make as an encouraging statement for everyone. If we look at our region here, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, the maturity of customer experience in our region has come to a point where many programs are now several years old. So the low-hanging fruit has been harvested, the technology challenges have mostly been overcome, and now many customer experience leaders and executives scratch their heads and ask themselves, where do we go from here? Where do we double click and how do we become more reactive and more sensitive to what's happening? So while in the past you were very much focused on selecting the right customer experience management software as a service, where you were very much focused on drawing the right and complete customer journey maps, we are now at the frontier of creating cultural change. And my encouragement to everyone would be, don't be discouraged. That cultural change is actually now a very rewarding spot. You have bought all the equipment, you've hauled it all the way to Base Camp 1, you have collected the troop of Sherpas helping you through your customer experience program. The summit is in view now, but it's also a very challenging part of the journey to address the change management. But hang in there and renew the support you got promised a long time ago from your executive teams. Start building effective employee experience programs to drive the cultural change in your organization, supporting the customer experience improvements, and get ready for a slight change in gears, shift in gears in order to make it from Basecamp 1 to the summit from here on.
Excellent. Thank you, Stefan. Just waiting on a question coming through from Anna. Just being typed at the moment. Bernhard, is there anything you would like to add in the meantime?
No, thank you. I think it was a really great exchange. And Stefan, thank you also for your points. I learned a lot even in the discussion today.
And here, thanks.
Anna has just written, so it seems like both Stefan and Bernhard are echoing good customer experience practices internally, just as they advocate these practices towards customers externally. So in effect, the CX leaders or teams need to be the role models of the behavior they wish the organization to emulate. Is this so? Is there anyone who would like to take that question to start with?
Yeah, I think it's like always. You have to live what you're talking about, and if you do not incorporate what you try to deliver to your organization, then no one will believe you. So I think you really have to mean what you're talking, and if you want to perform this transformation towards a customer-centric organization, you have, even in your daily work with your colleagues, with your teams, you also have to treat them like customers, because they are your internal customers. So if you're talking about easy processes and contact us on an easy way, and communicate a lot, and push exchange, then you have to live those values also in your daily work within your organization.
Excellent. Thanks, Bernhard.
Thanks, and that's a great question, actually, Anna. We have just here in Germany's Rhineland region finished the carnival season, and I'm just thinking customer experience is a little bit like carnival, isn't it? If you suggest, Anna, that just the executive and the head of customer experience walk the talk and become customer role models, it's like a big carnival costume party where only 2 people show up in a costume. And that is then the saddest party on the planet. So I think the challenge is to bring it beyond the executive and beyond the customer experience leader, and make sure, as we mentioned earlier, through recognition, to let everyone else show the costume they're wearing in regard of customer centricity. But the bigger challenge is probably in large organizations to have the regional and functional business unit leaders follow you. And quite realistically, I always advise our clients to have a system of 2 speeds, because quite often the customer experience model will focus on that infamous head of Belgium or Madagascar who is living the not invented here syndrome and pushing back on the customer experience program, and everyone is focusing their attention on them. This is like stopping the music at the carnival party and shining your lights on the one person that's not wearing a costume. Instead, I recommend you run a 2-speed model where you run ahead with the guys who want to support your program and launch the biggest party you can, having the greatest fun, developing the biggest successes. And this automatically will increase the pressure on the head of Belgium or the head of Madagascar who doesn't want to follow your program. So yes, the executives and the customer experience head need to walk the talk, but that won't do the trick. You definitely need to find big cultural support within the organization quickly and make that visible.
Excellent. Thank you, Stefan. And was that a personal experience of yours, turning up in the costume? It sounded very personal and heartfelt, I have to say.
Yes. No, it wasn't, fortunately, no.
Oh, well, I think on that note, we should wrap up for today in the absence of any other questions. Thank you very much for the question, Anna, as well. Stefan, Bernhard, I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure working with you. And as I was saying to you at the beginning, we will certainly be posting this on the ORCET Global YouTube channel and sharing that with all of the delegates for today. So thanks again, gentlemen. And if you would like more information, we've got some other webinars running this week and next week. You don't have to be in the countries that these regional events are covering, but so certainly you can sign up for them. So thank you so much to all of you for attending today, and Stefan and Bernhard, I really appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great day to everyone. Bye.